Hello, and welcome to Never Heard It, the show where I review classic albums that I never got around to listening to. But this week I brought along a friend. He's a rapper and producer from Portland, Oregon, whose album entitled 2020 was released in February of 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the puppet master himself, Gepetto.
Yo, what is that?
All right, so today we're talking about Jay-Z's debut album, Reasonable Doubt. And before we get into that, I just want to let you know that I am a Jay-Z stan. So I've been in since '96. I'm like this is actually this is the CD I bought in 1996. I
Wow.
still have my old CD collection, and this is one of the first CDs I ever bought.
Wow.
So I'm all in. Having said that, this is a judgment-free area, so feel free to say whatever you want, positive or negative, however you
Okay.
feel. But before, so I just want to let you know that before
Sure.
I ask you this question,
Sure.
why is it you have never heard Reasonable Doubt?
Well, I am like this will be an interesting conversation because I'm like the opposite of a Jay-Z stan. And I like
Mm.
Jay-Z, but at the time, I mean, I hadn't gotten into rap yet when this album came out, but when I did get into rap in like around the, millennium, I was super into everything indie and like indie hip hop, Def Jux,
Def jokes, yeah,
Rhymesayers. I was
yeah.
into the almost the polar opposite kind of rap. So I turned my nose up at Jay-Z for I'm not sure when, I probably came around to Jay-Z at the time when he was essentially became like a god, like, like as he became a cultural icon
Mm,
beyond rap heads,
mm,
and like a name that everybody dropped in order to, whatever, show some sort of understanding of pop culture or something.
mm,
So yeah, that's why I never listened to it. I was a backpacker, and it was, it was like the enemy,
mm. So, what was your initial feelings about before you actually like listened to the album? Like, what were you like? I'm gonna hate this, or maybe this will be okay, or what did you feel before you listened to it?
I think I knew what the experience was going to be like, which is that I didn't think I was going to hate it, like I'd heard Dead Presidents and feeling it, and so I knew it wasn't going to like be, I knew that I wasn't gonna I probably wasn't gonna listen to it and be like, yo, this is like as better than Illmatic or something, like. But that was my outlook going into it, is that I was like, I'm sure that this album is fine, like I'm sure that this album is like pretty dope, like.
Mm,
So but yeah, I had never heard any of the songs except for Feeling It and
mm.
Dead Presidents.
All right, so let's talk about the album then. So
Yeah.
after you heard it, what are your general feelings about it?
So my general feelings are that I don't, in my opinion, this album is not a classic, like for me.
All right,
Uh
jumping right into it. Just jump right
yeah.
to
I'm
the.
gonna get there's
uh,
no way around it. But
uh,
I will defend my I will give, examples for my opinion. I
mm,
think I feel like this album is in the era of like, you know, Biggie being the bridging the gap between street rap and like commercially viable. Biggie is making smash hits,
mm,
like with Puffy at this time. And I feel like this album was attempting to do the same thing, which is straddle street hustler rap and kind of like Big Willie rap. Um, and I don't feel like Jay-Z had found the poise that we like know him for today as like the mogul figure. Like I feel like he was still trying to be like the pimp or like the Big Willie, which I don't feel he is as convincing or interesting as like when he's like the grown-up hustler turned mogul. Like I think that story is more interesting. And so I feel like this album was kind of like it has one foot in like, you know, New York mid 90s street rap and kind of one foot in this like emerging like commercial sound, like
mm,
I think so that's kind of my initial take on the album is that like it's dope. It's not like I think it's whack, but it's not as convincing to me as like Illmatic or like Ready to Die or the stuff that I feel like it's sometimes put into the same category as.
So were there any songs that you liked?
Yeah, I like Politics as Usual. So I feel like Politics as Usual Can I Live
Mm,
are the best of the album to me. I mean, there's like Dead Presidents and Feeling It, which have a certain nostalgia and a certain like they're classic kind of songs in a different way. But like to me, the best of like the meat of this album is like Can I Live and Politics as Usual.
mm,
I don't know what it is about those. I think that so I really don't like when he does the like I don't know when he's like Rockefeller bounce bounce like all that stuff is
mm,
like that's too like puffy for me. That's what it makes me
mm,
feel like, you know. Um, but for some reason on those two songs I mentioned, he like he's just in the pocket. He's just rapping. He's not like to me. He's not like trying to bring about it's just street rap, like he just goes the
mm,
street rap route on those songs, and I
mm.
think it pays off because he can rap, like it's and that's what is like dope to me in this album. So yeah, those are my two favorites for sure.
Yeah, but what song would you say would be like the more like you when you like you were saying like he's yelling like Rockefeller and it's more like what songs on this album aside from like I'm thinking like maybe Ain't No. I can't think of any other song that really sounded like that.
I think Can't Knock the Hustle is the one
Okay.
that I feel like I would say somewhat across the board, except for the songs I mentioned. I feel like there's a little bit of like um the Big Willie thing, and he does this very conversational style, which I feel like he then developed into being one of the best like
Mm,
rappers because he developed his conversational style.
mm,
But in this album, when he comes out of the pocket to do these like, I got a good life, man, like those little kind of like
mm,
quick flows and things where it's like, I'm like, just stay in the pocket. So it feels like it's like rhythmically, I'm kind of like, and like content subject matter wise, I feel like those are the moments where he kind of does something that's supposed to be like this kind of like steezy like
mm.
flourish that I'm just like I don't nah, like I
Uh,
like it when it's in the pocket.
yeah. So you didn't like songs like Friend or Foe, but I think it's probably the most conversational, where he's like
Yeah,
literally just talking to the whole through the whole
that's
song. You didn't really enjoy
that's
that one.
that's a great example because I feel
Mm,
like on that song, that's like a dope song and a dope idea. I don't like that he does it over a primo beat because not because of the name primo or the anything attached to that, like but I didn't feel like that style of beat. I was like, like I don't, I want to hear that on like, what song I really feel like is a sleeper is Ain't No. I don't
hmm.
know. I don't know, maybe people bump that song.
Yeah, I feel like that's the exact thing that you said you didn't like. In my opinion, like that's the more club ready song to me.
I think it matches with the beat. Like I think
Mm,
it's the beat is really slick and like hustler-esque, but it's not like I would contrast that song to Can I Live? I feel like Can I Live is a song where and this is a production thing too. Like I feel like Can I Live is a song that has a really tight sample, but I didn't like how they did the drums on. I don't know who did it, but like I don't like how they did the drums on it and it lags a little bit more. I'd like it to just be a little bit faster. And it's one of those, it's a song where I feel like, this was a tight idea, but like the way that it was put together didn't really serve the song. And then Ain't No is the opposite. It's like, I feel like Can I Live is a little overproduced where it's like, man, that sample, like you barely need drums in there. Like he could just rap on that and it would be fire. But Ain't No is like, it's very lean and it's almost like just the sample. It's like, I can't even tell if they put drums on top of it or if it's just the sample.
mhm,
And it just captures that feel, like, especially with Foxy Brown on it. I think Foxy Brown's underrated. I think
mhm,
like Foxy Brown is the only person that I want to hear do the like, Mama, Papa, Cabana, like
mhm.
even Biggie, I'm kind of like Biggie and Foxy Brown are the only two people that I care to hear do that. But like on this beat, I think Foxy shines, and I think it's just like it's a dope concept. It's like yeah, it's this Hustler song, and that's reflected in the
Mm,
sample that they chose, you know?
yeah.
It's almost like Shaft-esque or something.
So speaking of Biggie, what do you think of Brooklyn's Finest?
I thought it was tight. I think it's a good example of like where I feel like here's what it made me think of. I think it's a tight song is a short answer. I
Mm,
think their voices aren't I don't like their voices together as much as like I like maybe like that Biggie and Method Man song or like some other collabs. But like it's on point. Like I don't think it's whack. It's, you know, but I think like it's a good example of where like Biggie just sounds street to me, you know,
mm,
where like Jay-Z has a little bit of that. He's kind of like, you know, he's like, yo, I'm into stocks too, or whatever, you know, like he's
mm.
like, he has a, he has a little bit of that poise where he's like, I'm like the hustler mogul or whatever. And
Mm,
Biggie's more like, I feel like Biggie's more raw or whatever.
mm.
Like, so I think that's like a good example of where I'm like, I can get into Biggie's verse. I can get into Biggie's parts on that song more. But yeah, I thought it was dope.
Yeah. This album didn't do like crazy when it came out. So like
Hmm.
it's considered it's one of those albums that's considered classic after the fact.
Hmm.
Like when it came out, I think it's mostly because like in 1996, it was pretty much that was the year of Tupac. I
Right.
mean, 95 he gets out of jail, signs to death row. 96, all eyes on me, literally all eyes are on him. And
Right.
then like he dies the fall of 96, and then they release a Machiavelli album. So pretty
Right.
much anything that's not Tupac or Tupac related didn't do very well. I
Right.
think there was like the score by the Fugees was
Right.
big,
Right.
ATLians was big, and
Hmm.
then Nas's album It Was Written
Hmm.
was big. But like as far as numbers are concerned, pretty much anything that wasn't that
Yeah.
was pretty ignored.
Right.
I don't know, maybe because of the style that you're talking about, that maybe people just weren't that interested in at the time, because a lot of his contemporaries, they were on their second, third albums by '96, like, you know,
Right.
and it's weird when you think about it, like Jay Z is only 1 year younger than Big Daddy Kane.
Really?
Yeah,
Man.
he's two
How old is Jay-Z now?
51.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's only one. So like he's like years older than his contemporaries,
Right.
music contemporaries.
He was just hustling while they were like
Mm,
rapping about
yeah,
hustling.
yeah.
Right.
Which in my opinion is the difference between Biggie and Jay Z. Like even though I love them probably equally,
Right.
I mean I think like while Biggie was rapping about it, Jay Z was actually doing it,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I think that's the difference.
Right.
So it sounds like you already said that you don't consider this a classic.
Yeah.
Do you understand why other people consider it a classic, or you just don't get it?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I mean, I feel like, well, I don't know. This is just my opinion, but I wonder if
Mm-hmm.
people sort of retroactively are like, once Jay-Z became what he became, they were like,
Mm-hmm.
well, this is his first album. And it's raw, like it's a raw album, you know, like it's like and it's well put together in a way that mid 90s New York rap albums were, or that the good ones were, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
so I get it. Like it's not like there's a bunch of it's not like there's like two hot songs and everything else so you just skip it, you know, like I
Mm-hmm.
if you're into Jay-Z, like this is going to be a play all the way through album, which I think is
Mm-hmm.
the most important thing about a class calling something a classic album is that you can listen to it front to back to me. So, you know, I imagine that if I were into early career Jay-Z or even, you know, like I kind of get on board around the Black Album, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of like whatever, you know,
So
like
when he was leaving, that's when you became a
yeah.
fan.
Yeah, I wasn't you know, like I said, like I was a backpacker, so I wasn't, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I was of the mind of like, like after 96, whatever, you know, like I want something new and different. I don't want like Mace, you know, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and so I slept on all kinds of stuff, you know what I mean? I didn't listen that
Mm-hmm.
much 50 Cent. Like I didn't, you know, start listening to modern rap until like 2010 or something, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like so. But yeah, I totally understand. Like it's got the makings of like it's got, you know, classic 90s production, you know, like and it's raw. So I totally get it.
All right. All right. So it sounds like you won't be listening to this album. You won't be going back to this one. No.
Probably not.
All right.
No, it's not. Yeah, if when I have that hankering, I probably just kind of like go to Illmatic or
Mm.
something. Like,
All right. All right. So, well, before we wrapping up, is there anything else that you're doing now that you want to talk about? Any new projects or albums or
sure.
anything?
Yeah, I mean, check out, if anyone is listening, check out or if anyone is listening and wants to hear me rap after hearing all my opinions, check out 2020 is the album of 20 songs that I made during 2020. And I'm just continuing to work on music, and I'm a full-time student and have some other stuff going on. So I don't do a lot of like promoting and stuff, but I will say that I'm always making like a lot of music. And right after 2021 wraps up, I'll drop another album, and that's gonna be the rotation, is like full album every year. And so just check out, whatever, follow Instagram and stuff. Gepetto 2020 is the album on all streaming, all that good stuff. So,
All right. Sounds
and
good.
I don't hate Jay-Z, just for the record. I think Jay-Z's dope. I know that some people are going to be like, this guy is a backpacker, and that's fine. But I think Jay-Z is one of the best, like I just didn't care for him in the late 90s and early 2000s. So.
Yeah. Well, like I said, for me, it is judgment free. Like however people feel is how they feel. That's the reason why I started doing this, because I just wanted people to like. I know that there are classic albums that people haven't heard, and I just want to, I just want to talk about. I want to talk about music for one, but I just want people to just admit that you haven't heard everything, and it's okay.
I wish I could. I wish I could remember the one you did that blew me away. Like some of them, I was like, you know what? I haven't really heard that either. Like Paul's Boutique, I was like, I got to be honest, I've never really listened to that all the way through. Fear of a Black Planet, I was like, I've never listened to that one all the way through. But there was one that I cannot remember right now that I was just like,
I remember somebody was like, I think it was the Far Side album. Somebody like kind of went. Like was like, I can't believe you never heard that one. But yeah, there's always somebody that says something. But it's like it's all right,
which is fun. That's what's fun about it. That's why I like it. I think it's a cool idea.
All right. So in wrapping up, have you heard Reasonable Doubt? Are you still bumping it to this day? I'm going to keep talking about albums until I run out. Until then, we are two people on the internet that don't know everything. Peace.